super funny.
Well, you can see it in his writing, but it's cool to see that he's got it in real life, too. It's like he had such influence over what his writing, his creation is to, like, the tone of what comic books are, that, you just imagine he must be like that in real life.
Oh, man. Hang on, James. I forgot to plug in my phone. We got no music. This is some low production podcasting. We'll get there. I'm sure it says it's playing, but I forgot to plug it in.
Gotta plug it in.
It's just playing the tail end of our usual theme music. So hi and welcome to Seattle's #1 comic book podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to the first issue of your next favorite comic, and I'm Larry.
I'm James.
Hi, James.
Hey, Larry.
Episode.
How you feel? How you holding up?
I'm holding up. Episode 121, and rest in peace, our good friend Stan.
Yeah, inspired so many of the comics that we've read.
Exactly. And
I imagine all the writers even if Marvel, we're not reading a Marvel book. We read a lot of independent stuff here, but I can't imagine being a comic book creator and not being influenced by him.
No, exactly. And like letting fly with all the funny. Like,
yeah.
Like, I was saying just before we got on air, I listened to a great interview with him on Fresh Air, the Terry Gross NPR interview show, which is great. And, it was rebroadcast from 1991, and he is so human and so funny. Like, his sense of humor came through, like, some of it sounded a little canned, like he was, like, first of all, you gotta write amazing, and everything's gotta be incredible.
Well, when you write The Amazing Spider-Man and The Incredible Spider-Man, then that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so he just starts off, and so a lot of it you could tell that he's said it before, but then he loosened up, and in this interview, it was just a great interview. I would definitely recommending downloading it and listening to it, because he was just a great funny guy, and that's what I feel when I read. And when you see the movies, what do you think about those movies? They're funny, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and I feel like his greatest ability is the character creation, and I think character is so important to story and the relatability and the humor is definitely like it makes me curious who his favorite superhero that he created is, but I feel like Spider-Man maybe has the best humor element in that Stan Lee direction. So I'm excited we're doing a Spider-Man today. I mean, it's just a coincidence you chose him this week, but we're doing a pretty good Spider-Man, so we can dive into that genius of, he didn't write this one in particular, but laying the groundwork that it's so recognizable.
It is.
Anybody can write for Stan Lee.
That's a great point. It is so approachable, and if you got the chops, you can do it. I mean, and so written by Dan Slott, like, he's done it. Other people have just done, like, amazing, just like really. My favorite is Charles Soule, who did that. All of those great. Now I'm losing my Amazing Spider-Man senses here. What was that Spider-Man? Oh, I loved it so much. Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, you got to be a superior writer.
Yeah, and it was fabulous. And I think we got a good Spider-Man to talk about tonight too. But before we get into that, I want to just really quickly just give you a little recent and decent.
Yeah. What do you got, Larry?
So there is a
wait, before you get into this, I just want one more Stan Lee thing that kind of ties into the recent and decent. After he's died, are there any like back catalogs or any like secret vault things that are due to come out that he's been like holding on to. You know, like I remember when Prince died, he had a giant vault of all this stuff that someone bought the rights to. Is there maybe something like that coming around the corner for Stan Lee?
I don't know. Good question. We could only hope that he had some just some gems in the chamber, like ready to,
or
like
even like
the
how we did that Jim Henson script that never became anything.
Sure.
I could see now maybe, he's got some things that maybe people can take and turn into something great.
I bet you he does. I mean, he was so just such a like a Johnny Appleseed for comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to the Marvel Untold story, another book written about the Marvel years and Stan Lee years at Marvel. Timely Comics turned into Marvel, and he would just he was like unstoppable when like the creativity was flowing, and I just feel like there's got to be more out there that just
Mm-hmm. Something in the back. I mean, he's 90. What is he? 95 years old.
95 years old.
There's got to be something that didn't turn into something that people can dive into.
Exactly. There has to be. He has probably vaults and vaults. Let's hope.
All right, but Larry, let's get into what your recent and decent is.
So, recent and decent. This is sort of comic book related because inside of this massive 300-page book, there is a illustrated history of the Beastie Boys. It's the Beastie Boys book.
Oh.
And it's written by Michael Diamond and Adam Horowitz. How cool is that, right? And
that's awesome.
I didn't know anything about this.
Are you a big Beastie Boys fan? I can see it.
I want to say that I am. I love their music, but when I'm flipping through these pages and the photographs are amazing. It's just like a yearbook of who's who in the Beastie Boys world. I can't tell one Beastie Boy from the other. I'm telling you, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a super fan. I don't know which one is which.
Oh, that's a good point. Like it is funny when you listen to a podcast or something where you just know people through the audio and you can't really picture them. You make up in your mind what they look like. Like I am curious sometimes what people think I look like just based on my voice. But I probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart. But I mean, I'm a big fan of quite a few of their songs and albums.
I do. I like some of their like their most recent albums. Like there's one called the Hot Sauce Incident that was in our Honda and on constant rotation, and we loved it. We loved it. I mean, like we had our favorite tracks, and it was just like I said, just a constant rotation, and we still listen to it. I still listen to it on Spotify, and the Beastie Boys are just so like prolific, and so I'm just getting into it. So it's just a straight up it's kind of a love letter to New York too, and
they're definitely New York,
and of the times, and also of the radio and all of the underground stuff. I'm like, as I'm reading it, I'm taking notes. Like, I gotta Spotify this guy. I gotta Spotify that guy. I gotta Spotify all of these different.
Yeah, make a good playlist.
It's amazing. So check it out.
Do you have a favorite Beastie Boys song?
Well, I have a favorite Beastie Boys album. It's the Hot Sauce Incident. I think it's called the Hot Sauce Incident. But next is Paul's Boutique, and I can't say that I do or not. How about you?
I love Rhymin' and Stealin'.
It's funny that you should say that because in my mind, there's a great introduction in the beginning of the book, talking about how this is written by two people, but it really should have been written by three people. And the other MCA. What's the guy's name? What is his name? The third Beastie Boy who passed away.
Oh, Now you got me pulling a blank.
His last name is Yotes. What is his name? Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
What?
I read.
Are you talking?
I
Are
read.
you talking about Adam? Mike D?
Not Mike D. Adam Yoke.
Oh, okay.
Adam Yoke. Anyhow,
Isn't that what you said?
Yeah. So no, there's
Okay.
there's Adam Horowitz, Adam Yoke, and Michael
okay.
Diamond. Those are the three Beastie Boys. Anyhow, he went to India and just really engrossed himself in the spirituality of India and stuff. And he came back and they continued to make these amazing albums. But I don't want to but when the Beatles became like very spiritual in India and like all of their albums sort of related to that.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen to the Beastie Boys. Like, they just kept going on, and they came up with Rhymin' and Stealin'. And I was just thinking, like, it's so far away from, like, the Indian spirituality and all of this stuff. I was just like, how do they do
like
that?
They're playing the sitar all of a sudden.
Yeah, I just thought that was super fun. Anyhow, this book, I've only read the introduction and a few pages of just getting into it. But it's so good. It's so good. I'm just like I said, the pictures are super, just fantastic.
New York.
And I'm a child of like the '80s, so like all the fashions, they got beepers. It's super funny. Check it out. It's called the Beastie Boys book. Very good stuff.
Sweet. All right, you ready to dive into Spider-Man 666?
Spider-Man 666.
First issue of Spider Island.
Yeah, we should have started an hour ago because we got some stuff to unpack here, don't we? There's a lot going on in this book. Starting with a great cover.
There's a lot of moments where, like, we don't really get this as much with first issues, but, like, there's a lot of references to other issues, and they did a really good job within it of, like, keeping people up. Like, you don't have to have read everything, but if you want to see the issues that it's referencing, then it does a little sidebar. And there's definitely a few comics that now I want to read because I read this one. Like, not only did it hook me to read the next issue, but it hooked me to read some other Spider-Man arcs to get a bigger picture of this Spider-Man world.
It is cool that you said that, and also this first page gives you that whole thing, and every comic's somebody's first, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think Spider-Man does the best of this, and the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember a little bit of that from some of our Hulk readings.
Yeah, so like in the beginning, it tells you this like ridiculous little paragraph about Peter Parker. And it's all like, you know this stuff. It's like, you were in grade school. You know this. You know that he got bit by a spider on a field trip. You know all of this.
Yeah, accidentally exposed to the radioactive. Yeah, but it's not like I remember reading Spider-Man in like the newspaper comics, and it would be like 4 panels, and like the first panel would be this paragraph. And you're like, wait, you wasted like a whole thing on something that everybody already knows. Right. But this was just like a little corner. You're right, just the first page before the prologue even begins. That did it. It actually did a pretty nice, like, it's pretty jam packed. This one page of mentioning that Spider-Man's been on 2 Avengers teams, and the final it's not the FF. What's the F? That's the
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four.
And then he's also got like all these girlfriends he's juggling. He's got Aunt May who's moving out of town, and like his whole life is upside down. And he's
not with Mary Jane. He's with some other girl.
Charlie, I think her name is. Oh, anyhow, he's, like I said, we have a lot to unpack here. So it catches you up, but it also it's not super necessary for you to know every detail to enjoy this comic. Exactly.
Like, this is the kind of comic that, like, if you tell people you read comic books, this is what they are thinking you read.
Right. How many calls did you get when Stan Lee passed away? Like, Stan Lee, And I'm like, yeah, I'm sad. I read other comics.